There's a moment everyone knows but rarely names. Someone feels a surge of irritation when a friend forgets a promise, or disappointment when colleagues get praised for work they didn't do. The reaction is instant: hurt, envy, or a flash of anger. But instead of expressing it, the person smooths their face, makes a joke, or distracts themselves with their phone. The feeling lingers under the surface. Maybe it shows up hours later in a slightly cold reply or an unexpected argument at home. Or maybe it just settles in, fueling a vague unease that's hard to explain. Most people grow up learning not to show certain feelings: anger, jealousy, neediness, or even pride. So those feelings don't vanish. They go underground, quietly shaping decisions, moods, and relationships. In daily life, a huge amount of energy goes into managing what is visible and what must stay hidden. Many people play roles: helpful friend, reliable employee, loving parent, or loyal partner. They show up on time, say no problem when asked for a favor, and try to keep the mood positive. But offstage, things can be different. The reliable employee can feel resentment when promises of a raise don't come through. The helpful friend feels drained and unappreciated after another late-night phone call. The loving parent sometimes dreams of running away. These are normal experiences, but often, instead of addressing them, people push them out of sight and put on a good face for the world. That tension between inside and outside is everywhere: at work, in families, at parties, and in moments of silence at the end of a long day. Most of this work, keeping certain feelings down and playing up others, starts early. Children figure out what gets them love or safety and what gets them in trouble or made fun of. Maybe a girl learns to hide her anger because it upsets her parents. Maybe a boy learns that crying means he'll be teased. Some children become perfect students. Others become class clowns. Some learn to disappear in a crowd or go silent during arguments. Later, as adults, those early lessons continue in new forms. The child who became a peacemaker in the family now struggles to say what she wants at work. The boy who learned to hide sadness as a kid can't ask for support after a breakup. People keep their unacceptable feelings out of sight, sometimes so well hidden even they don't realize what's under the surface. All of these hidden parts are what psychologists like Carl Jung called the shadow. It's not a dark force waiting to explode. It's just the rest of us, the parts that didn't fit the story we were told about who we're supposed to be. Sometimes it's anger or selfishness, but it can also be creativity, ambition, or playfulness, anything that seemed risky to show. To keep our shadow out of sight, we develop masks or personas. Some people are always agreeable, some are always competent, some are always fun. The mask works for a while. It keeps relationships smooth and workplaces safe, but eventually the shadow leaks out, not always as angry outbursts or bad behavior, but as anxiety, low mood, resentment, or feeling lost. People don't just hide from their own shadow, they see it in others. When someone next to them voices an opinion they're afraid to have, or breaks a rule they secretly want to break, it feels uncomfortable. Maybe the messy coworker is annoying because they themselves wish they could relax about neatness. Maybe the confident speaker seems arrogant because part of them wants to be that bold. Instead of asking what's theirs and what's mine, most people react quickly. How could they act like that? This is projection, putting our own hidden feelings onto someone else and criticizing it from a distance. The dark side can feel like a problem to be solved. Adults read books, sign up for meditation apps, or go to therapy to fix parts of themselves they wish didn't exist. But no matter how hard they try, these parts don't really go away. They find other ways to make themselves known: dreams, repeated mistakes, a stubborn sense of emptiness, or physical tension. When a long-held mask finally slips, maybe in a crisis or a big life change, it can be shocking. Suddenly, the feelings and traits kept under wraps, anger, sadness, fear, or hunger for recognition, are on display. Sometimes it's terrifying, sometimes it's a relief. But what if the dark parts have value? Anger can signal when something's wrong. Jealousy might show what someone truly wants. Even fatigue can mean a person needs a break, not that there's something wrong with them. When people begin making space for what they've hidden, life gets more honest, but not always easier. At first, friends, family, or coworkers might resist. The gentle friend who starts speaking up can unsettle a group that relied on her always saying yes. The quiet sibling who sets a boundary with parents may be met with defensiveness or guilt trips. It takes courage to keep showing up as a fuller version of oneself. It's not about letting go of all masks. Sometimes a persona, a calm voice at work, patience with children, or focus in a storm of chaos is essential. But living only for the mask becomes exhausting. There's a difference between knowing you're playing a role for a reason and forgetting you have any choice about how to show up. Over time, the more flexibility someone has in moving between their masks and their deeper self, the more energy they have. They get less stuck in conflict, less controlled by anxiety or shame, and more able to enjoy quiet or connection without feeling like a fraud. So, how does someone actually start to work with their shadow? There's no one right way, but there are practical steps anyone can take. The first is paying attention to triggers. When a strong feeling, anger, shame, envy, or fear flares up, pause long enough to ask what's really happening. Is the feeling all about the other person, or is it touching something inside? Sometimes just writing down the feeling or saying to oneself, "I'm furious right now and I don't like it," helps loosen the grip. Often, a little time makes it possible to see through the heat of reaction to the real hurt or longing underneath. Talking with the shadow can also be done through imagination. This doesn't mean making things up, it means having an inner conversation with the rejected part. Sitting quietly, imagine speaking to the angry, scared, or lonely version of yourself as if it's a separate person. Ask what it needs or what it's afraid of. Listen for the answer, however odd or unconventional. Surprising. Sometimes the answer is simple. I want to be heard. I need a break. I'm tired of being ignored. A small act of kindness, like taking a walk, saying no to a request, or allowing yourself to feel sad without judgment can be a first step toward making peace. Boundaries are another way to work with shadow. This doesn't mean confrontation or explanations, it's about clarity. Saying a direct no without long excuses is difficult for people in the habit of pleasing others. It can be helpful to say, "I can't do this," and notice what happens inside and around you. Maybe there's guilt or fear of being seen as selfish. Afterward, ask yourself, did things fall apart? Was the other person's reaction as bad as I imagined? Little by little, the world feels less dangerous when people speak honestly about what works for them and what doesn't. Practicing solitude is important too. When alone, without screens, chores, or distractions, feelings come up. Sometimes boredom, sometimes old pain. The idea isn't to get rid of these feelings, just to see what's there. Regular time spent without a specific role or job allows patterns and needs to emerge. A planned no each week to a request at work, a favor for a friend, or a family tradition that feels wrong teaches that disapproval or discomfort isn't the end of the world. Small, genuine moments with others where you risk sharing a worry, hope, or honest opinion strengthen the sense that authenticity is possible. Change takes time. No one perfects this overnight. As people make these small choices, tension inside often decreases. Masks feel lighter, options for action grow, and the panic about being found out shrinks. Relationships stretch and change, but over time become more satisfying. Arguments become chances to learn rather than punishments or losses. Close friends become closer. Acquaintances who only liked the mask may drift away. New connections are often formed, not because someone has become flawless, but because they are more at ease with their own contradictions. Life doesn't stop delivering situations that call the shadow out. New jobs, family gatherings, sudden money problems, or health scares. But With practice, the reactions become clearer. Someone might feel angry and notice it's about feeling invisible. Instead of lashing out or bottling up, they might speak directly. "I felt ignored when my idea wasn't heard." Over time, such honesty makes room for better solutions or genuine understanding. Working with your dark side isn't about looking for secret powers or hidden talent. It's mostly about not running from what's hard to face. The more openly someone can greet their own fears, the less likely those fears are to control their life from the background. Even mistakes become information rather than red marks on a scorecard. The voice that once screamed, "Something's wrong with me," starts saying, "This part also belongs." Over years, the sense of being a single, rigid self turns into something more flexible, a person capable of sorrow and joy, anger and gentleness, hope and doubt, sometimes all at once. When seen through this lens, everyone is walking around with a bag of unclaimed feelings and stories. No one gets over shame or fear or resentment once and for all. Instead, mature adults keep learning to work with these old passengers, accept that reactions come and go, and find creative ways to express what was once held too tightly. Sometimes this means art, sometimes movement, sometimes words, sometimes quiet. The dark side, far from being a monster to conquer, becomes part of the wisdom, humor, and beauty of being human. In the end, the most important move is always to return to the present moment, to curiosity instead of self-judgment, to listening instead of silence, to boundaries that build space for everyone involved. Integration doesn't happen through grand gestures, but in the day-to-day. Pausing instead of snapping, admitting a mistake, noticing envy and wondering what it asks for, choosing honesty over habit one more time. The result isn't a flawless life, a perfect personality, or endless happiness. It's something simpler and more real: resilience, a sense of belonging in your own skin, and the ability to sit with the mess and treasure of being completely yourself, even the parts you once hoped would disappear.